Welcome everybody to another edition of Bottom of the Bill. This week we have Cros. That's his artist name, Cros. He's a phenomenal bass player. He's played with blues legends such as James Cotton, hip-hop legends such as Cypress Hill. He's just an awesome dude, very talented guy. He's done a lot of his own music, a lot of production stuff. He owned a record label and helped up-and-coming artists with their endeavors. He's done just span the entire industry. He's really an interesting guy to talk to. It's always interesting when you go in not knowing the person that you're interviewing. So you just never know how it's going to go. And this one went phenomenally well. I really thought we were just like hanging with our really good friend. Enjoy the episode. This is Cros, phenomenal bass player. You're going to dig this. All right, guys, this episode's brought to you by Best Buds CBD Store. If you're like me, maybe THC isn't always the right high for you, or maybe the legal status of THC has you a bit hesitant to indulge. So at Best Buds CBD Store, they have an array of CBD and Delta-8 THC products. These guys truly care about their service, so everything is meticulously sourced and prepared to deliver a top-notch product and experience. If you head to their website, you'll find all kinds of educational information regarding Delta THC and CBD. Not to mention, if you use promo code BotB, that's BOTB pod, you'll save 10% on your order. This is not a one-time deal. If you use promo code BotB, every time you place an order with Best Buds, it will give you 10% off. That's in perpetuity, forever. So head over to bestbudscbdstore.com and start saving on all of your CBD and Delta-8 products. Enjoy, guys. All right. Well, Cros, thank you so much for being with us today, man. We appreciate it. I'm really curious as to how you and Chris met somewhere, right? Because that's how this all happened. So I'm just curious as to how that went down and like how it's been, turned into this like awesome thing for us, for you to just be on our podcast.
Oh man, yeah, and I appreciate you guys having me. Chris, I'm trying to remember the name of the venue. My family lives in Jacksonville, and my brother and his wife and family, they're in Jacksonville. So I was just getting a little antsy. I was like, man, is there any place around where I could possibly sit in or so? Because I was performing a few days before at Port St. Joe at the Forgotten Music Festival there. So my brother came down and we ended up driving back because of the confusion with the airline. They had, I can't remember. It was Panama something that I was supposed to have flown out of, and they had me flying out of Panama, not Panama Beach.
Oh my God. I can see that confusion.
Yeah, so that was the 1904 Funk Jam that I host on Mondays. Yeah, man. I remember you strolled in and we're hanging out, and just like jumped up and sat in. But you performed like a mofo when you got up there, man. Like how jams go. They can be hit or miss a little bit, and you started running that stage, and we're like, all right, he's done this before, and it was a blast. It was a lot of fun. It was a good time.
Yeah, it was inspiring because you guys, man, y'all were killing. And I was like, if I don't bring my A game up there, so I'm just gonna get embarrassed by you guys. So I'd step to the plate. So you guys killed it.
Yeah, people sleep on Jacksonville. We're doing our best here to change that. We've got some killer players here, man. It really is like a city that it's definitely a hidden gem kind of city, because there's a lot of fantastic players, a lot of cool things that are kind of happening that people just might not be totally aware of. But that's kind of why we do this podcast, is try and shine a light on all that. And hopefully, guys like you and peers at that level, take notice and can kind of help put the city on the map with us. You know what I mean?
Definitely anything I could do, especially, I grew up in, I didn't grow up there, but I spent a lot of time in Jacksonville when I was a kid. So I have a little bit of a history there, and I've seen it grown since. It's been a while since I've been there. So and I won't tell you the exact year.
Yeah. We'll get it out of you at some point tonight. Don't worry.
Yeah. Like, whoa, that's way back. That's before I was born.
Yeah.
So, but it was, it's grown big time because when my brother took me to the location where the club was, I was like, man, I don't think any of this stuff was here back then. Now I was a little shorty, but yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's grown in the last 7 years. That I moved here 7 years ago, and it's grown even since then. So it's
recording
very cool
in
to
progress.
see. What was that sound?
Nothing.
Okay. Anyways, so where are you staying at these days? What city are you based out of?
Oh, I'm in Phoenix. I'm in Glendale, Arizona. But when I say Glendale, folks are like, where?
Yeah, I get it.
So it's close to Phoenix. Really close. It's about maybe 10, 15 minutes from downtown Phoenix.
Okay, and I mean that's definitely close enough to claim Phoenix, I would say. I'm from a suburb right in between Miami and Fort Lauderdale called Pembroke Pines, and it's like maybe 30 minutes outside of downtown Miami, about 25 outside of downtown Fort Lauderdale. And I just go ahead and tell people I'm from Miami because it's just easier. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So your resume is absolutely wild. How did you get linked up with the people that you've worked with over the years? And I'm just curious about just the experiences in general. It seems like you've had such a robust career at this point.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of a lot of things I learned from my brother, who's a drummer, and his best friend, who's considered my big brother, is Larry Williams, bass player also. But I've learned a lot from them when I was a kid, and the big thing that I learned was always be true to who you are and to your craft and everything in between it, and constantly network, and never, if you never have an ego, because there's always someone that played better than you. So I've kept all of that with me. So over the years, and I was one of those kids that, when I was little, I didn't talk to anybody. I was afraid to talk to people. But now it's like, it's the difference between night and day, from silence to this gregarious person that's, everyone I would go up to, even if I don't know him. I'm like, hey, how you doing? Blah, 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 so on and so forth. And a quick story on that one was, I can't remember her name right now, but me and my friend were walking down the street, and I was like, man, this gorgeous lady is coming in the other direction. I'm just going to say hello to her. Turns out it was Rod Stewart's background vocalist.
Oh my God.
And yeah, so we talked, and she invited us to the show. So I got a chance to briefly meet Rod Stewart and see his show. So
wow,
it's just, the thing that I've learned is always keep options open. I've went from the military bands, outside of the military bands, to other groups that were just starting out. And for me, my parents always pushed me and wanted me to be, whatever I wanted to be, as long as it wasn't a musician.
Right.
Get a real job, type
of course.
thing.
Yeah.
So, everyone that I've met, I'm, even if they were down on themselves, I'm like, man, don't beat yourself up, keep pushing. And some artists that I've had those serious conversations with, they ended up growing. And hey, man, look, I'm opening up for Bill Withers, or opening up for this other artists. I would love for you to come down and just hang. And so it was networking and just being who you are, I guess.
Yeah, man. I'm curious. Like, that's a great mentality to have, and I think it's interesting for a group of people like musicians who can kind of be introverted, like as you started out in your early life, and me, even to this day, have a hard time just getting out sometimes because you get in your own head and you don't really want to deal with things. But can you speak to some of the reasons why, like, do you ever feel like there's this kind of negative connotation with the idea of networking and, like, you know, this kind of mentality with musicians or just people in general, where they almost feel like the idea of networking is kind of like slimy or grimy or whatever? You know what? Does that, have you ever encountered that at all?
I have, but it's for me, I've been doing it for so long that I've been able to kind of sniff out that in folks that are the slimy ones, that are, you know, the hidden agendas. And again, it's kind of a, I'm not a Buddhist, but it's kind of one of those, you know, Buddha type thing where you're 100% comfortable with who you are and being that 100% of who you are. And for me, I don't really have a hidden agenda. Like, if I want to meet an artist, that's just it. I want to meet them. I'm not trying to, you know, hey man, here's my card, let me do a gig with you, or you know, something like that. It's just, you know, over time, it's like I respect your art. I listen to your music, and I just want to shake your hand. That's about it. And I leave it at that. But I've definitely seen that in folks, even with record labels and with some agents and people that you want to work with to handle the business side, where they're like, oh, hey, is this agreement? Well, you know, I need to speak with my attorney. Yeah, you don't need to speak with your attorney. It's all good. Right. It's, you know, it's just, it's what it is. But this here says perpetuity and, you know,
right,
servitude and all of this. And it's like, I have no clue as to what that means, but I need to find someone that does, you know, they spend their time doing that. And
right.
So, but there have been instances and cases and situations that I've seen, that I've witnessed, especially with females, that, you know, a female has to be a little bit more alert.
Yeah, man. So you made a really good point. It's something I've been thinking about a lot over the last few days. I literally just flew in right now from New York. I was just up there visiting and just trying to do the networking thing, quote unquote. I was just thinking about it, and I was like, man, I'm running around this town right now, out here going to, like, you know, different places where musicians are playing, jam sessions, etc., and just trying to talk to people. And I started thinking, I was like, well, if I was a woman right now, particularly like a very good looking woman, it would be nearly impossible to know whether or not this interaction is genuine, because there's always the ulterior motive, right? It's in such a male-dominated kind of side of things. Because everyone that I spoke to was a male, and it's just one of those things where you're like, there's already a barrier to entry in massive cities like that. I can't imagine having that one more barrier to entry where you kind of have to be very fierce and assertive in your intentions. Otherwise, you know, it can get a little dicey, you know? Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the scary part, because even if you have someone that's like, hey, you know, again, a female, hey, I love your singing, there's some pointers I could give you. You should come over to my place.
Right.
And, we should work out some stuff, and, you know, we could hang out for some drinks, and then, you know, go to a nice, dark, seedy club.
Right.
You know, I could work on some stuff with you.
Right.
You know, so, you know, again, I have a granddaughter. So for me, it's that concerned man, making her aware of situations. Don't do this, don't do that. And she's 4 now, but she's got perfect pitch. And wow. When she sings, I'm like, Jesus, where did you come from? So it's, you know, getting her ready. And so between me, my son, and her mom, it's like on the intellectual side, on the intuition side, and on just being a female, being a girl. It's you know, like I've talked to my son about getting her involved in martial arts.
Yep. And
just for any type of situation that comes up and arises, that she's ready for it.
Oh man, super important, especially. Yeah. Even just on just speaking to the martial art thing, even just on the discipline side of it, like just understanding, you know, short of going to the military, like martial arts requires a certain kind of discipline that you can kind of translate to other areas of your life, and music being one of them. I feel like music requires such a discipline, and I think that the, kind of learning that disciplinary mindset through other forms can really help you integrate it into music, because it's so easy to get caught up in the lifestyle of being a musician and just seeing the amount of people that are out there not really putting in the time, where you might not realize early on the importance of having the discipline to focus on your craft. So getting it from somewhere else, I feel like can really help jumpstart somebody in this career,
Yeah. I agree with you. When I was younger, that's what I did. I didn't have much of a social life as a kid, as a teenager, even up to like 19 or 20. It wasn't until I got into the military, I started off in the Navy, and just going in and out of these different countries, it just opened my eyes. And I was with old school. I was with the Navy band, but I was with old school seasoned musicians. So, the ones that were drinking it, just, look, you can't hang with the big dogs if you're pissing with the pups. So, so
with the pups, I love it.
yeah. So it was a lot that I learned from there. And I wanted to get back to you on the network thing. The hardest thing, one of the things that I learned from growing up and going over to New York or going to LA, going to other countries, is some of the musicians that I met were genuine and they wanted to help. But some they considered you a threat. Mm-hmm. And so they were very standoffish, because they're like, oh, well, you're gunning for, I'm a guitar player, you're a guitar player, so that's going to be too much competition. And to me, it's not about the competition thing. It's about, we're considered a family, a band, artists, musicians are more close to being family than anything else, and we're supposed to be there to help uplift and help that artist, because you never know, that artist may be the next Stevie Ray Vaughan, and he'll remember that. He's like, oh man, dude, I remember Cros, and we had this long conversation, and he turned me on to some gigs, and it kind of helped my career. And I'm not going to forget that he was genuine to me. And I think that's important, because it's not about the ego. It's not about competition, because everyone's voice is totally different. And even if it's the same, it's still, my voice is maybe a pinch different than yours, and it's just it's different.
Totally. Well, the idea, of like competition in music, I mean, some friendly competition, I don't think is a bad thing to have. I think it makes us all want to be better. But then, more to your point about us trying to help each other and be like this extended family, because we're all in this grind together, and what a unique grind it is, which is why I think it's important for us to keep that mentality of wanting to support each other. There's also this thing where it's like, if you are putting off this negative vibe of like, you're trying to take my gig, I don't want to help you, or, find your own way type shit. Like, first off, that's not, that you had people that didn't do that to you, right? So like, why would you want to be that way to somebody else? Number one, but also there's just like the energy that you exude that either repels or draws people to you. So if you're sitting there putting off this defensive energy, like, everything is sacred and it's mine, and not for you, then you ultimately just repel like people and ultimately opportunities, right? So you might be doing well right now, and then, you keep putting that energy off, and you're just going to repel every opportunity and person that could help you out down the line. And if you're more accepting and willing, it's all going to kind of come to you at some point, so it's kind of like a give and take, I think.
Oh, it is. And it's, you never know how the universe is going to work for you, how it's going to shift things around. Quick story.
Yeah, please.
I was 19-ish, 20. I was in Japan, and it was my first duty station. It was with the Navy, 7th Fleet Navy Band. And so for me, I've always been that curious kid. I was the one that drove, I drove my parents crazy.
Yeah.
And everyone in my family were like, oh, he's just the weird kid. He's, I never, if I was in a new place, I'm like, okay, I got to see what's out there, blah, blah, blah. I got to know. So I would take the trains in Japan. So there was one night that I took the trains, and out of the blue, there was this guy. I swear he looked like a homeless guy. He was a black guy, and he looked like he was going to ask for money. Now that could go in two directions: either walk by him, ignore him, or stop and say hello. And so that's what I did. I stopped and I was like, hey, how you doing? He's like, hey, young brother, blah, blah, blah. We're talking. He's like, I see you got that bass guitar right there or something, whatever you got. What is it? I was, he didn't say the bass guitar part. I mean, right. It was just, he was assuming what it was, but I was like, okay, I'm a bass player. And he was like, oh man, well, and this guy was coming out of this club and he knew that guy. He's like, brother, you need to get over here. You need to meet this young brother. And he was like, why do I need to meet him? He was like, look what he's got in his hand. And so I've got, they didn't have the gig bags back then. So it was just a big ass case. Oh boy. With me. So turns out he told me, he was like, man, pull your bass out. And I'm like, well, you're not going to be able to hear anything. He was like, it don't matter. Put the headstock of the bass up to the street light post. And so I did. And he was able to get a sound from that. So as I'm playing, he's staring at me. He's watching me. And I'm like, dude, I hope this guy's a serial killer or something like that. But it turns out that he was the bass player for Al Jarreau and Kenny Loggins.
Wow.
And we've known each other to this day for maybe 30 something years. He's been one of my closest friends, my mentor. He's a producer. He writes and on the philosophical side too. So it was just weird how when the universe wants to work to get you where you need to get to, it will work, but it's up to the person to accept it.
Man.
And not saying that all cases are going to be that way, but you have to be open to the possibility of something and also be prepared at the same time. If this is going to go sideways, then, I know how to fight my way out of it.
Right, so, man. Yeah. It's nice to hear it from somebody at your status. You know what I mean? And I'm curious, speaking of accepting opportunities and networking, all these things, the resume that you have is wildly extensive. And I'm just curious as what the trajectory's kind of been. Did you start off with the military band and then kind of make your way into the industry through that? Or what's been the process?
Oh, well, for me, I've been on this weird journey where when I first started, my big brother, Mack, who's a drummer, I tried to follow in his footsteps. I first wanted to be a drummer. And I couldn't get into that field because I just didn't have the capacity to be able to play like that. But and there was a test that was involved in middle school back then, and I failed the test. But I'm like, hey, man, rank has its privilege. My brother was your student, so automatically you need to let me in.
Oh, wow.
And the band director was like, no, we can't do that. You have to, I don't care who your brother is, who your family is. You come in the same way as everyone else. And it was a good learning experience, but it started off with me going from trombone to trumpet to finally I saw this huge brass instrument, tuba. And I was still shy back then. I was like, okay, man, that's perfect. I could hide behind it and I could be as less social as I need to be because no one's going to come up to a tuba player and just, hey, how you doing? So I started off there and just started working on classical. And I did classical for a while and kind of listened to a lot of the Chicago Symphony tuba player who was Arnold Jacobs at the time. So I kind of won different scholarships and to different programs, Merit Music Program in Chicago, Chicago All City. And but I, again, being that non-social kid, I would practice for like 10 hours a day. And it would drive my parents crazy.
I can imagine.
So from there, I kind of got into a situation with in high school where they needed a bass player they were starting a jazz band program. And they're like, well, you play tuba and it's the same notes reading wise. And I was like, okay, I'll give it a shot. So I picked it up and I liked it. And that's when I started taking lessons from my big brother, my brother's best friend, Larry Williams in Chicago. And started taking lessons from him and from a few other artists that were playing around. I think one was John Whitfield in Chicago, who's an upright bassist. And he used to, trying to remember if it was Duke Ellington or if it was another heavyweight jazz artist he was with. So it kind of shifted me from marching band and classical over to jazz and a little bit of blues, but not as much. And then at that point, I became a snob where I was thinking, oh, well, blues musicians, they can't really play. I don't even know what they're doing. It's just a pentatonic scale.
Right.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
But, it was a feeling that I could not do. It was a feel, and it was like, I don't get it. It's repetitive on the vocals and all of this. So I was breaking it down, and then I didn't look at the true elements of it because it was that story that was being told. And it was, it was just some things that I didn't realize that until I got older, that, wow, he's pouring his soul out. He's given more than just technique. It's not just about technique. It's about feel. It's about his experience, his life, his blood, sweat, and tears, and good times and bad times. But, again, I didn't think of any of that. I wasn't open to the possibility of accepting the fullness of what music and expressionism meant musically. So I was kind of bouncing around from that to rock, to reggae, to ska, to all of these different styles. And one of the things that one of my friends told me, because I would always, when I practiced bass, I tried to sound just like Jocko.
Right.
And, but I was like, yeah, there's no, I don't have that technique. And I know it's not what I want to shoot for. I don't want to be that technical guru that could just play, 142nd note.
Right. Right. I mean, also it's such a specific style that I feel like doesn't really get you the gig. I mean, it's one thing to be able to, dissect music the way that Jocko did and implement it the way that he did, but Jocko wasn't the hired gun. Jocko was the artist, and that's a whole different perspective,
Yeah. But the beautiful thing about Jocko, though, that when I listened to, like you're saying, old school musicians told me, they're like, hey, put your hand in your pocket. And I'm like, okay, my hand's in my pocket. He was like, what do you have in there now? I was like, nothing. He's like, well, the more you play in the pocket, the more money you got in your pocket. So play in the pocket. So, I learned that, bass player and drummer, they have to, not just bring the life to the band, but they have to keep that groove and that constant groove, keep it in a pocket. But what Jocko would do is he would paint a picture. I mean, it's Picasso. I mean, it's just how he would go in and out of the notes. And that was one of the things that my mentor, Derek Jackson, he would do the same thing. Like you're playing one chord while that person's a piano player and guitar player is just playing that one chord. He's going up to a minor third and then going up, to the fifth, and then he's going down to a flat fifth, and he's painting it and adding something that I didn't know a bass player could do, which was it would add intensity to the song, and it changes the song. If you do it right, it changes it, and it moves not just the music, but it moves people as well.
Right.
Yeah. So on my journey, I've gone from classical, rap, pop, and hip hop. The only thing that I couldn't really fully do was gospel. To this day, I'm still like, yeah, bro, I'll leave that up to y'all. Y'all go ahead and do it. Cause I ain't there.
Well, it's also, I feel like and this is coming from a place of relative ignorance, I would say. However, I feel like modern gospel has shifted a lot from what it was, 30 years ago. I feel like gospel as we know it today is how do I put this? I don't want to say like a young player's game, but it's kind of like it's a style that even like as me coming up, it's changed drastically from even when I was, 10 years ago doing what I'm doing. Yeah. So I feel like it's one of those things, if you haven't like, you've got everything else down, it's like, okay, well, this is something that's kind of still developing and kind of taking on a new meaning, especially as it integrates more with jazz and pop and hip hop. Like we're starting to see the pop world really implement or gospel, and we're starting to see jazz implement a lot of gospel, and how that's affecting it the other way around. So it's this genre that's kind of just right now in this kind of evolutionary stage, I feel like,
Yeah, I agree with you. It's everything, well, especially on the live performance side, it's there a lot, even blues, they're starting to use more gospel artists. I know in Chicago, when I went back to Chicago, I was like, man, wait a minute, that's a gospel drummer. Wait, that's a gospel drummer. Wait, that's a gospel keyboard player. So
oh man, that's across the board. Like I played in the blues scene down in Miami, and actually have done, I went to the IBC and did some stuff like that in Memphis, and the blues band that I played in was this guy Maurice was a gospel drummer, and then a lot of the bands like this guy Joey Gilmore down south, he plays with the gospel drummer now, and like they've been kind of making their rounds across every genre of music, I feel like,
Yeah, and it definitely adds a lot, but the only thing, again, it depends on how seasoned that gospel drummer is or how seasoned the other players are, because with gospel, the sky's the limit on what you feel and stuff like that. But blues, there's a lot, it's more structure. Yeah. And that, the thing like Eric is some of the songs that he does, him and Sip, Mr. Sip.
Oh yeah,
their style has that.
They won.
Yeah, yep, that gospel element to it, and it sounds great, and it's intimidating for me, but, and it's incredible and intimidating in a good way, because what it does, it inspires me and makes me understand and realize, man, I need to start moving up to the next level. I need to keep stepping it up. And because it's great to play with that foundation, but what is it going to sound like with this? And that's where Muddy Waters had blues had a baby, and it, named it rock and roll. So
right,
everything is a form of growth and movement, and constant movement.
Yeah, man. So I'm really curious about this because your background is so diverse and eclectic. I'm curious as how you got. So when did you get picked up by James Cotton, and how did that leverage itself to become, playing with, or recording with Jay-Z and like, all this other amazing stuff. Now you've just won the IBC for 2022, was it?
Well, it was 2022, but I just wanted to, because I've gotten chewed out about this, because it's a winner is a winner, but I won second place.
Okay.
In the IBCs. And the Jay-Z thing, I think, now my nephew worked with Jay-Z, and he also worked with Kanye. And but I haven't had the chance to work with him. I did work with Cypress Hill back in the day, and that was incredible.
I can imagine.
Yeah. But Jay-Z, I didn't get a chance. Not yet, at least.
Okay.
I'm still waiting for my nephew to get back into it. To build up his contacts and possibly say, hey, we want you to play bass on this, or we want you to just come do a tap dance number right with Jay-Z's playing or something, So
that'd be amazing.
But yeah, it's one of those things where like everything involves movement and possibilities, and always leaving everything open. When I moved back to Chicago, it was kind of weird. I moved from Seattle. I was living in Seattle for a while. And so I got a chance to play. I was blessed with the chance to play with Chris Cornell's family inflatable souls. So it's Peter Cornell, Susie Cornell, and Katie Cornell.
Wow.
And along with Dave on drums and Joel Tipke on guitar. And through that, Miles Kennedy filled in for Joel Tipke for some shows. So I got a chance to meet and hang out and do some shows with Miles Kennedy.
That's super cool.
Meet with Chris Cornell and have, hang out, talk. And from there, it moved over to Alice in Chains. And so it was, it was all about just being ready for it and accepting it. I had a situation where I was asked to play with a group, and at that time I think I was going through a divorce back then, and back then I was struggling in life, and that's when I got the divorce, and I was like, nah, I just want to play blues. And it's like I had no idea what was going on, but it was just, I just wanted to end that pain right there. So I moved from Seattle, moved over to Chicago, played with some great blues artists there. Before I moved to Chicago, when I was just bouncing back and forth, I got a chance to play with Lefty Diz at a jam session. And to this day, I tell John Primer, because I came in with a 5-string bass, and John Primer, Lefty Diz was on stage, and John Primer came over to me and he said, "Hey man, just keep it in a pocket. It's not about bass solo." I'm like, man, you don't even know me.
Yeah.
So
those blues guys are so intimidated by that 5-string, man.
Yeah. But after he heard me play, he was like, "Man, I ain't got any money to give you, but I want to give you one of my CDs." And to this day, every time I see John, I tell him, "Hey, John, you remember Checkerboard Lounge on 43rd?" And telling me to just keep it in a pocket. So he would laugh. But and that was a long way of saying, when I moved to Chicago, I ended up playing with a great blues artist by the name of Charlie Love. And we used to play at a venue called Kings of Minds, which is still there. And there was one night that I was performing there, and I was a huge Lucky Peterson fan. Like when I was back in Navy School of Music, listened to him a lot because it was great study music. So I got a chance to really listen and hear and stuff like that. And lo and behold, one night that I'm playing, this person standing right in front of the stage, staring at me. And I'm like, what the hell's going on? So when we get off this stage, the guy disappeared. And my buddy, who's a drummer, was the drummer at the time, BJ. BJ said, my first name is Charles, my artist name is Cros. So it's pre-Cros. So he said, "Charles, someone wants to meet you." I'm like, who wants to meet me? He's like, "Lucky Peterson." I'm like, yeah, right. That Bill Cosby thing where it's like, where he says, "Noah, this is God." Yeah, right.
Yeah. Right.
I was like, yeah, this is Lucky Peterson. Yeah. He's like, "Man, I love you playing." He's like, "I just lost my bass player, and he finished the last show with me over at Buddy Guy's." And he's like, we leave for France in about 4 days, and I would love for you to tour with us." And I was floored. I was blown away, but I was like, I don't have anything tying me down. So we rehearsed, I think it was like 40 songs or something like that within a short period of time. And that's how I learned how to rehearse a band correctly, was with when he was there. And they got a chance to meet with Rico McFarlane, who is my big brother now. So, and Rico's played with everybody under the sun. He gets an incredible guitar player. So I started my major blues career off with Lucky Peterson, and I was with him for a while. During that time, we were on the road with Ike Turner and all of these other groups, and Ike loved the way me and my buddy, and I found out he's my cousin, Popcorn Chuck Loudon. And we were just, every time we would play, it was like an army. It was just the two of us, just the way we would lock and just hold that pocket. And so we had tons of times of doing shows and had opportunities that came up. Otis Taylor was another artist that we got a chance to tour with. On my way back, we're in Chicago for a while, and I got a call from Rico. And Rico said, hey, I need for you to put a band together for James Cotton. And so I was like, you want me to put a band together for the great James Cotton? Yeah, right.
Oh my God.
But he was serious. So I was like, well, okay, I got the musicians for you. So that's when I called my brother on drums, and my brother toured with Coco Taylor for a little bit. Wow. And he was with other artists. And I was like, yeah, can you play drums? And we had a friend of ours from New York. So if I had known that you were in New York, I could have gave you his number, Slam Allen. And Slam is does a lot of stuff on the blues side in New York too.
Okay, hell yeah, man! I'll grab that from you, because I'll be back there soon. So I'll grab that from you before we get done.
Okay, cool.
I appreciate that, man.
Yeah. So we put the band together. It was a three piece, because I think he had a keyboard player that he was using, and Rico was the other guitar player that would tour with us at times. And I ended up being with James for maybe 10 years, almost 10 years or so.
Wow,
so,
10 years. That's a long time.
Yeah. And the saddest thing was when I stopped, Noel Neal, incredible bass player, came back to play with James, and Noel had passed away. So James was just recovering, getting out of the hospital, and he said, well, I'm going to be going out soon. I was like, well, when you go out, I'll be there. I'm your bass player. I got you. So it's like, okay. But, he's like, Charles, I got you. Okay. When we going out, like this. But, so we got a chance to talk for a while, and I was looking forward to it. And I think it was about a week later that I received a call from my brother, and he had told me that James had passed away. So it was devastating to get the news, because he passed. My mom passed in 2010, and at that point, and my mother was my biggest fan. And I'd sing a song, and it didn't matter if I was in key or out of key. She'd shake her head and clap her hands and stuff like that.
Oh man, that's awesome.
So when she passed away, I ended up burying her, and I was done with music for a long time. I had no inspiration. I didn't want to do anything that dealt with music. I just wanted to hide for a long time. So
yeah, man, I'm sorry to hear that. That's got to be, just a devastating blow across the board.
Yeah, because it went from, after my mother died, it's about 6 months later that my closest niece passed away from breast cancer. Then from there, my brother passed away because he had a triple heart bypass deal. And so he had passed away, and it was just like, yeah.
Jesus, man, I'm so sorry. That's that's just back to back, man.
Yeah.
How long did it take you before you wanted to get back in the game? So I would imagine that you need some time to really heal from that. That's hard,
Yeah.
man. That's hard.
Yeah, it took a while. It took I think at least 6 years I was going out and playing, but when I would go out and play, I would get drunk. And that was the whole thing, that I needed that medicine to kind of keep me going. But it started getting to the point where it would get out of control. I mean, not in a bad way, but end up, I still make it home, but I end up passing out at home and, not being able to get up in time. So I guess back then, I'm thanking God that I made it. I made it home back then. But it took even at that point, I was playing and I just had to drink. I had to drink, and I had to drink excessive. So it wasn't until maybe 2020, 2019 or so was when I decided to really try to 2018, I really tried to focus on it, but then COVID hit, and then that was like, okay, got a year to 2 years off. And
I was gonna say, man, like a true bass player, you have perfect timing.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it worked out though, because it was the self-reflection, and it was a matter of me figuring out what I wanted to truly do. And back then I was going back to school. I was like, well, I know my parents wanted me to get my degrees. And so I ended up focusing a lot of time on school. And then IDCs came up, and I decided to, give it as much as we could. And I think the last time we were there, 2022 was when we did, when we won first place for Phoenix. I mean, I'm sorry, not for, I keep wanting to say first place. We won second place for Phoenix. And it was an incredible year, because the acoustic solo artist, Eric Ramsey, he actually won first place for Phoenix.
Okay,
and for the Phoenix Blues Society. So
did you guys end up going to Memphis or no?
Not for 2023, but I'm planning on doing it for 2024. I just needed a break from it, because it's stressful. I mean, it's stressful.
It's a grind, man. It's a grind. That competition is, you're talking like, if you're in Phoenix, I was down South Florida. I didn't actually participate, but I was there for the whole weekend, and I ended up playing in one of the bands that was like a semi-finalist after that weekend. So it's I was there and I saw it right with my own eyes. Like, these are guys, a lot of them are on the road. Like, these are road dogs we're talking about, like people playing clubs 200, 250 nights out of the year around the country. Ooh, and nice. And you guys are out there participating in this event, and we're talking 4 days unpaid type shit. You're just going for the accolade of winning, and hopefully that can leverage you into, a record contract with, some obscure blues label or any kind of, whatever, manager, agent, if you don't have one. You just hope that it leverages into something. And that's a lot to ask for people that are out there grinding, especially in the blues world. You and I know very well that that's a blue collar music grind. There's with little hope of ever reaching pop success, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So it's grueling, man, and that's amazing that you're. I mean, you have a true love for what you're doing and the genre. It sounds like, for participating and trying to do the thing. So I admire that.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I love to hear you playing, man. One of these days, and. Yeah, and definitely I want to put you in contact with there's a keyboard player. She's in some part of New York. PK Hannah is her name, but she's a really good blues piano player, singer, and guitar player. But she's really cool.
Awesome.
Nice.
Yeah, I would love any kind of contacts I can get, man. I'm just trying to keep networking, expanding the the enterprise, you know?
Yeah. It's oh, sorry.
No, well, there's just a couple of things I really want to hit on with you because I'm so curious about this. And I'm so, first off, the blues band that I played in, we covered 2 James Cotton tunes. One of them was it Rolling on 88s, which is like a up pace, like an up tempo kind of like swing, like a
Rocket 88.
Rockin' 88s. Yes.
Yeah.
It's sorry, it's been a long time since I played with them.
Oh, no worries.
And then there was another one that was like this A minor kind of funk, and it does these hits on the upbeat on the 5 to the 4. One
More mile.
Yes, one more mile. Yes,
yeah.
We used to
Yeah.
cover.
Here.
Yeah, right. We used to cover those 2 songs, man, and it was those were 2 of my favorites just because I love. They were, well, especially One More Mile. It was a departure from the standard shuffle, and like, you know, a lot of the other stuff that we do is like this funky tune that had hits. It was a lot of fun to do, and I would love playing those tunes, man. So that was just it was nice to just kind of be able to, you know, just it was cool. And then I really want to hit on your learning on how to run a rehearsal. I want to go back to that real quick, because this is something, as I've been a band leader for a long time, I'm very, very adamant about let's not waste any time. We've all got lives. We all got shit to do, other places to be. We got 2-3 hours here, and we got to just make the most out of it. So let's all come prepared. Let's know our shit and just run the tunes, come up with whatever transitions and stuff we want to do for the show. But let's not waste time learning music while we're here. Type shit. Yeah. And then, you know, as time has gone on, that band is disbanded, and I play with other people now. And you know, coming from a band leader perspective, I judge harshly on how those rehearsals are being run, right? Since I'm not in that role anymore. So I'm just curious as to what your experience was and how you learned how to run a rehearsal like that.
Well, I was able to learn from quite a few folks from middle school to high school, from the marching band side to the big band side, up to went to a TSU, and how they would run the band director would run the rehearsals, and it's all about approach, but the most that I got out of running, even with the military bands, the way they would run their rehearsals too was totally different than the way Lucky Peterson would run his rehearsals. But you know, you have a child prodigy that is one of the world's finest artists ever. And so he's been doing it ever since he was like, 2-3 years old. And but when I witnessed it, it was kind of a mix. It started with my brother Mark and Larry Williams, and it taught me, with Larry and Mark, that it taught me how to shape a band by the bass player and drums. And it's the form of locking. It's the chemistry. It's how they feed off of each other, and they were playing together for a long time, but they knew how to direct the band, to build it up, to drive it and bring it down, and not have it sound like, keeping that intensity, dropping it all the way down, and still having that intensity level there. Right. Instead of dropping, you know, some bands, they'll drop it down and it just sound, man, the energy's gone, everything's gone.
Right. Totally.
But yeah, so from Mark and Larry, I learned how to handle a drummer, and how my relationship needs to be with a drummer, and which is the most important thing to me. But with Lucky Peterson, and he had the cream of the crop, but he would always say, the times that we rehearsed, and, you know, we'd rehearse a song, and he's just basically, you're in there to see how the feel is going to be, and how you want it to be. It should go in the direction of that band leader. And he knew how to drive the band. He knew how to bring it down. And he would always say, the rehearsals are not a rehearsal for you to come in here to learn the song.
Yes.
The rehearsal is for you to perfect the song with the band.
Exactly.
And so that was one of the biggest things that I learned from him, because I didn't know. I'm like, oh man, we just come in, we just play. It's like, no, you don't come in and just play. You play as a band, and because when you do your shows, and it's intoxicating when the music sounds so good that you just want to keep playing.
Right.
But it's like, okay, we got 2 hours, so we're going to go for 50 songs within 2 hours. And so he just communicated what he wanted. So we're going to go over the chorus. You all know this song, right? Oh yeah, we got it.
Yeah.
So because if you didn't, you got hell to play, because when you hit the stage and you get ready to play, he's like, okay, you said you got it, so you got it. But you get on there and mess up. He stopped the band in a concert, like we're in Paris. He just stopped the band. Ladies and gentlemen, we got to let the bass player try to figure out what's going on right now.
Oh no.
So it's that. But I mean, down to when we were in, I think it was, we were in France, and I was backstage and I saw James Brown find some of his band members.
Oh yeah, he did that. He was famous for that.
Yeah, but he would turn around. I'm backstage and he's doing, he's like this.
Yeah.
They turn back around and it's like, holy jeez, this dude know what he's doing.
Yeah, man.
But it's about when the band rehearses, they're coming in to perfect the song as a band. It's not to learn the song at that minute, that moment. They should have the song. They should have their skill down well enough to a point of knowing, I've practiced this song. I know what it's going to sound like when it comes out of me. Now I want to see how it's going to sound when I interact with the rest of the band.
Oh, I love that perspective. Yeah. Totally. There's just kind of relate to some of that, calling people out. The band leader that I was playing with at the time when we were doing in the blues band, a shout out Rock and Jake Band. I've talked about it plenty of times on this show. I played with Rock and Jake Band, all the touring stuff. It was fun. He was like, in his mid 50s at the time, and I'm a 24-year-old kid. And the other guys in the band are like, late 30s, early 40s. And so everyone's like very seasoned and knows what to do. And I'm coming in like thinking I can play the blues. And he very quickly told me that I could not play the blues. And I had to learn all that stuff. And then there'd be times on stage where I would just be bombing. I mean, just not playing very well. And he would, I'd be looking at him, okay, I'm done. He's like, nope, you're not. And just let me sit and marinate in my inability to get through that time. And I learned so much in those moments where it was like, you have to really sit here and put in the work to learn the music, not just the songs and the arrangements, but stylistically, most of these solos are improvised. So you have to sit there and put in the work and learn how to play the style. So even on an off night, you can still fool the crowd at least. Because right now, what you're doing is objectively ruining the show. I'm just like, okay, fuck, man, all right. So yeah, I mean, it's that scene. There is such a commitment to the authenticity of the style, I think, that doesn't always exist across. There are certain styles I think that relate to the blues in that, but the blues is those guys are so committed to being a traditional and authentic sound. I think that there's something admirable about that as well,
Yeah, there is. And the other thing with that is interpretation. And a lot of artists, a lot of us, we may interpret something way different than, like, let's take Muddy Waters song, Hoochie Coochie Man.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there are different interpretations of that. Like, incredible guitar player that I had the pleasure of having worked with me for a little bit, Adrian from Hermosillo, Mexico. And so Adrian didn't really play the blues. Adrian was a killer rock guitar player. I mean, killer. So now at that point, it's like, well, we're doing Hoochie Coochie Man, but we want to do it as close to this style as possible. So what I would do with Adrian, I'd be like, okay, Adrian, I want you to listen to Albert King, Albert Collins. I want you to listen to some Freddie King.
Yeah.
Listen to some BB. I want you to listen to Lucky Peterson, Rico McFarlane. So I would give him different lists to listen to. And I would tell him, I want you to play as close to that as possible. And not saying I want a clone of that, but I want your expression, your interpretation of this with the understanding of this genre. Because, and that's another important thing is, you know, you could have a certain style that you're going for, and we all have our own interpretation of it and our own experience from it. So it's a matter of how we bring it. And if we don't have any experience on it, then go back and learn, get some type of foundation and understanding of it, and then bring your understanding of it. And I played with a reggae band, which I didn't know. I can't remember. It was like I Shot the Sheriff or something like that. I couldn't figure out how to lock the groove, you know, doom, 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 or so. And I was like, how do you do that?
Right.
Because I would go do 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 do. You know, it's the interpretation was completely off. But my buddy that I was playing with at the time, he was like, man, I want you to listen to this. I want you to listen to this style here. Listen, Bompa Claude, I want you to listen. You know, so he would go on, but he's like, just listen so you could get an understanding of the bass, of the groove, of that style. And so I was able to come back, but I had to conform to the style and play it note for note. Like I would play, if that I Shot the Sheriff original bass line, I would play it exactly like that until I had more time with experiencing and being in that genre to be able to open up and kind of still stay within that groove and have my own interpretation of it, have my own expression of it. But it's reggae, but it's my
interpretation of course. Yeah. As long as you get that, like reggae has a pulse on, I feel like on the 3, you know, which is like it's kind of like a little count, like contrary to what we understand, you know, in Western music for the most part. It's just like, you know, it's 2 and 4 based or like whatever. We have like the triplet feels in blues, you know, like the shuffles and the swings and all that stuff. And reggae is just like, well, the pulse is on the 3. We're gonna omit the 1. We're not gonna give you that. We're just gonna give you that fucking fat kick on the 3. And like, and that's where you have to kind of dance around. As long as you're kind of like giving people that pulse, you can do whatever else you want around that. I feel like, you know.
Oh yeah.
I'm also super curious to know what James Cotton was like as a band leader, man. I've heard some wild stories about him. So my growing up down south in Miami, my family was, you know, my dad and my uncle and extended family all involved in the music scene and industry, different levels down there and otherwise. And one of my uncles was a sound guy at this place called Tobacco Road, which
in Miami,
yeah. And they recently tore it down. So in typical Miami fashion, just ruin a great thing. And but a legendary club that I know James Cotton performed at. Did you play with him there at all?
I think we did. Actually, we did play there. I think it was a few years before. I don't know if your screen kind of blacked out. We played there a few years before it closed down. I can't remember the exact time or the exact date, but I think it was like, I kind of got a feeling it was like 2 to 3 years before they closed it.
Okay, well, this was like the stories that I've heard. Nothing too bad. Just he seems like a fun guy. But this is like back in the '80s when my uncle was working there as a sound guy and stuff. But I'm curious as to what it was like to work for him. He must have been quite a band leader.
James was like a father to us, to me, Rico, to Tom Holland, who was with the band with us, and my brother Mark. Slam Allen was also. Slam actually went off and did his own thing, but he was very, very good, very understanding. He took care of his musicians on the pay side. If there were any problems, if we needed something, he would bend over backwards for us. There was one time we were on tour. I think we were somewhere in Buffalo or leaving Buffalo on the way to Boston to another show. And there's this one place that has this really good food, and all of us wanted to eat there. We thought that we were going to eat there. And so the manager who was driving the van at the time was like, nope, we're not eating there. We're just going on the road. We're continuing on to the next gig. He's like, no, we need to stop. We need to stop. That's where the guys want to go. We're going to stop. He's like, no, we need to go. He, James had slammed his hand down on the dash of the car. And he said, God damn it. I paid the cost to be the boss. Turn this damn car around. Get my boys something what they want to eat.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
Yeah. So we were like, oh, but it was he taught me how to be a good band leader, good band leader, because it's about taking care of your band and making sure that everyone's happy, comfortable, and situated. And once we hit that stage, James would always give everything, the last bit of what he has. He would give it and leave it on that stage 100%. That's where even if he's feeling sick or if he's feeling tired, he'd get out there and you couldn't even tell, because once he hit that stage, it's just, man. And he kept us on our toes, because he would turn around and look at us too. He's like, come on now, play. He would let me solo every now and then, but the first time I did it, it was like, I'm actually soloing, and I was playing fast, but it was a little melodic line, and so he got on the mic while I'm soloing. He's like, Jazz, take your time. And so hearing him say that, take your time, it made me. It was so weird just to hear him say that. It made me feel a little more comfortable, and I didn't feel scattered. It was like all of a sudden I had more focus on my playing, and because it was just bass players don't solo much,
right?
So,
right.
So it was good to be able to hear that, and if he felt like, I need to take another solo, he'd be like, keep going. Do your thing.
That's awesome.
And, but yeah, he loved his artists. He would always recognize his musicians on stage. And when he got off stage, he would turn around to each and every one of us and he'd thank us. And he'd bow his head and he'd thank every last one of us before he got off that stage. And it was something that I realized and it's something I say with my band. And I say, ladies and gentlemen, I give a shout out to my artists, because they're more than just the working band. So if I've got a guitar player that's played with certain artists, I would be like, ladies and gentlemen, give it up on guitar all the way from, wherever. And he's also performed with this artist, And it's the recognition of each of us that are just shut in the back, that the lead singer or lead guitar player, they don't really realize that it's not just about them, it's about all of us on that stage. You know, again, that's one of the things that I got a chance to learn from him, and I do it every show. I think, how do I put it, ladies and gentlemen, I'm thankful to be to share this stage with these incredible artists, and I introduce each artist.
It's important to do that, man. I think, like a lot of artists get kind of caught up in their own stuff, and it's like they kind of forget, because there's a lot to deal with. You're dealing with a lot of things. There's a lot of moving parts, and side guys, for lack of a better term, can come off sometimes as unappreciative or not very thankful for the opportunities and stuff like that. So sometimes artists just forget there's an homage that needs to be paid to your people, because it's like these guys are out there, they have histories, they got like lives and things that they're neglecting to make sure that this show can go on, for the love of the music and for the love of the grind and all those things, right? So the acknowledgement, I think, helps go a long way. And especially if you're an artist that's kind of on the come up, you can't pay the highest rates, or you can't afford the most luxurious lifestyles. So you're kind of hoping that these guys are betting on the vision. And if you give them the appreciation of their time and their effort, then they're much more likely, I think, to give you the dedication that you want in other aspects, I think,
Oh yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah.
Big time.
I want to go back to you perform or recording and playing with Cypress Hill. I'm curious as to the influence of hip hop on your upbringing, or just in your early music life, if any at all, and what it was like recording and working with those guys, because that's another, I would imagine, a wild group of people, especially at that time, to be working with.
Yeah, it was. And on that show, that was actually, they were doing a Seattle tour. And so my buddies who were getting, and one of my buddies who was getting into hip hop, and he was like, man, I need a band. Then all of us, we, back then, drinking, partying, and everything in between. So we had our own little circle, but it wasn't an ego circle. It was just, this is my boy, this is my brother, so I got you. It was that feel,
right?
And so, and that's what we had a chance to experience, was when they're like, oh man, so there's some shows that are coming up, and we could be the band that plays for them and stuff like that. And it was amazing, man, to see them come out and they're doing their songs, and we're just in the back, just killing. That was the first time ever I've actually done the hip hop, and it was nice, and a lot of endo, a lot of smoking.
Yeah. Was there any? Did you have any connection to the music at all beforehand, or that was kind of your first experience, just on a fan level with it?
That was my first experience on a performer level. Like on the fan level, I listened to hip hop ever since I was a kid, from Houdini to Sugar Hill Gang, and old school.
Yeah.
So East Coast, West Coast, and I didn't really care about the coast. It was just about the music.
Totally.
So yeah, because
it is a very specific genre as well. Like there's kind of there's like grooves, and there's beats, and there's there's ways to complement the MC, and like it's a different approach than a lot of styles of music. So I'm just curious as to, that's why I'm so curious about your background with it, because was it a learning experience, learning the music and kind of wrapping your head around that performance, or were you already pretty familiar with it coming into it?
Well, I was familiar with it coming into it, but it was still, just learning the songs at that point. I'm trying to remember some of the songs. Insane in the Membrane.
Yeah. And like, what's that?
Yeah,
Hits from the Bong and all that stuff.
Yeah, that song when we play. I do remember when we played that song, though. Insane in the Membrane.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, everybody was smoking. So it was definite. I mean, you could tell it's a different world, but they appreciated us big time.
Yeah.
So even though we're in the back playing and they had their DJ and stuff like that, they turn around and, yeah, y'all killing. Yeah. So it's like my nephew, I have two nephews that do hip hop. Well, found that my niece does, a couple of my nieces do hip hop as well. But so far, my nephew London has been making a lot of moves with it and having more impact in the industry from his connections, and so it's been fun even listening to some of the stuff that he does, because we've been talking about doing collaborations and working on some stuff. I think we actually, a long time ago, I mean, this was 20 or more years, we did a song where I was playing bass and he was rapping to me, to my bass line, which I thought was ridiculous. I mean, ridiculous in a good way, but it was something that made, it was some of the things that made me realize, okay, music comes in all forms, and anything can be music. A person coughing every few seconds can turn into a great rhythm that turns into a great song. Literally,
man. That's such a good observation. And like, yeah. I feel like now it's kind of changing a little bit. You got guys like Robert Glasper and people of that nature or that talent level that are kind of embracing the world of hip hop. And I'm curious as to, what do you think the resistance was towards the music for such a long time? Because there was a resistance towards rock and roll and towards jazz at some point, and every kind of groundbreaking genre there's a bit of a resistance to. But it seems like it took, whereas rock and roll maybe had like 10 years of resistance before the mainstream accepted it. It took like hip hop like 30 years before people of across musicians, especially, the older guys are always like, well, it's not music, it's whatever. It took a lot longer for people, I think, within the music world, anyways, musicians in particular, to accept it as a viable genre of music. What do you think the pushback was, or the resistance to accepting it might have been?
I think some of the resistance of the acceptance part is coming on from the professional musician side. Is a musician considers a musician that sings or is playing an instrument, and they're like, oh, they're just doing rap. They're just coming up with these lyrics. But because I was one of those idiots, and It's everything. Music is. I think that was one of the big things, and some of it is the rawness of it, what it's about, the rap, or you talking about this, and my nephews wrote a song, and I really want them to come back with it. It's called. The lyric goes, I'm picking the lock coming through the door blasting. I'm picking the lock coming through the door blasting. Then they go into it. I'm like, man, y'all need to that song. Yeah. But it takes a while, because I think some of it has to do with the lyrics. Some of it has to do with objectifying of women. And it could be so many different things. I mean, Elvis, it took people a long time to understand him back in the day, because he's gyrating. He's doing something that black folks were doing for a long period of time.
Right.
But now it's conservative TV. So now the conservatives are like, oh no, my daughter is screaming her head off now. This kid should be on stage. He's gyrating, doing all of this sexual stuff. So it's I think it took a while. The other thing that I have a lot of respect for hip hop is they control, you know, the black kids in their neighborhoods or whatever. They control that industry.
Right.
And so where you got rock and you got everything else is controlled by the majors, but that's the only genre where, you know, it's like when I'm talking to my nephew, you know, like all CLR Productions and blah, 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 and this, and, you know, and then they're talking about distribution. And I never thought anything about distribution. Like I was just like, oh, getting a record deal, that's the best thing in the world. But no, it's, you got your 360 deals that completely screw you over and everything in between.
Totally.
And not saying that that's not happening with the hip hop labels, but it's more of they're in control of it, whereas it's not, you know, where Prince was saying the thing that we as artists don't have is ownership of our music or so on and so forth. And what was that? Taylor Swift? Was it Taylor Swift that did an interview and she was talking about she didn't know that she was owned by some private investors.
Wow.
That owned her entire catalog, and she wasn't given the option to be able to buy her catalog.
And look at Britney Spears. You know, her family, or her dad or something, owns basically her entire life, and that was, you know, I mean, it's like a lot of weird stuff like that, you know.
Yeah.
However, there's some weird stuff in the hit, like, you know, Death Row owned Tupac, like, you know, all like just, I mean, not just his music, but I mean, you could tell if I was a huge Tupac fan, especially in high school, and if you listen to his music, his lyrics, you can tell, you know, how conflicted he was as a person, just coming from a not so standard background as far as like what the hip hop you know, image was. He went to art school and like was a dancer and, you know, had a different kind of lifestyle. And then you hear all his lyrics, how you know, he wanted to kind of talk about what was happening in the inner cities and stuff like that. But then you can hear this conflict. And as I get older, I start to look at that and I start to think about maybe there's a lot of confliction with, you know, him as a person, feeling like he didn't have autonomy because of the deal that he signed with Death Row, and then that kind of manifesting itself in this confliction in his lyrics with, you know, this image of positivity and you know, being a martyr for the inner cities versus glorifying the lifestyle of you know, criminal enterprises and you know, whatever else. So it's interesting how you know, as you get older, you kind of see that dynamic a little bit, I think, and just to that point of like, I don't know, you know, I know the hip hop industry works different than a lot of how the mainstream industry works, but there is still some weird shit that happens, I feel like, at that level where there's control of music and people, you know, especially if they feel like they have all the leverage, you know.
Yeah. And that's the saddest thing, is because it's you're in an industry like let's say if you're get some major companies out there, AT&T or Apple, you know, so they have their product, they market it, they get as much money as they can for it, because that's the whole thing. Let's market it and blow this iPhone up. That's what we're here to do, is maximize on what we have and to get as much revenue coming into the company. So on the music industry side is something that I can understand, because an artist is no longer, well, they're still an artist, but an artist becomes a product at that point.
Right.
And so it's a matter of the creative output and the ability to be able to express. If you've been, what's it called, a foothold for a certain style, let's say you do bubblegum feel good music, and that's your thing. You know, let's say the Brady Bunch. I think I'll go outside for a walk now. The sun is calling my name.
Right.
Let me hear you now. So now this has become a brand of that's making, let's say $40 million. It started with $40 million a year. Now they're up to 500 million. So now the contract is, hey, yeah, we'll make you this, and it's all about what you sign on that sheet of paper. But at that point, it's like, no, you're the bubblegum feel good. We don't want you going out talking about, what's going on in the world, or talking about politics or anything like that, because now at that point, you are going to become an investment risk.
Right.
So now, and if you do that, then you're going to be at breach of contract, and we'll sue you, and we'll own everything that you have, and you'll still owe us all of this money.
Right.
And you will never be able to sing again. So it's a matter of how you go in and how you look at it, and how you look at your music, how you look at your contract, and what you want to do. Like when I started a record label years back, and I kind of slowed down from it for a while because I was still trying to figure out what direction I want to go. But it's basically designed to every artist that we work with. I would always say to them, before we work on anything, have you picked up the book, All the Things You Know About the music industry? They'd be like, no, I'm not familiar with that. I was like, okay, you need to pick that up, because now we're going to start talking about the type of distribution that I have. Now we're going to talk about your publishing, and, do you have your publishing set up? Did you copyright your songs? Did you do this? And it's like, no, I was just going to, no, don't trust. And it's like, well, I want you to hear this song. Nope, I don't want to hear any song that you don't have copyrighted, or, set yourself up for success. And that's the thing with music. We take it as it's just an art, but we have to, there was an artist, and I think it was Luther Vandross, that said that an artist has to be more than an artist, that they have to be a business person as well, and they have to understand every aspect of the industry. And it's important. But when we're considered that starving artist, and most of us starving artists, we may be incredible on that instrument, but we're naive to the industry and how it works. And so when we get that deal, you never know. You may end up with a good attorney, but you may end up with that slime that just he's in it for the money, or he's tied into the record label.
Well, I've always made a distinction. Not always, but in recent years, I made a distinction between musicians and artists. And to me, an artist is somebody that's aware of their entire enterprise in that capacity that you're talking about, because you are the final say. Your name is at the end of the day on everything, and you're the final say in what happens on everything. So to me, that's like the big distinction that I make. And I'm curious also, because you mentioned something about not wanting to listen to an artist's music before it's copywritten, or just making sure they're protected. There's also like an angle there where it's within your self-interest as well to make sure that they have their ducks in a row, because it is there from like a legal standpoint. If they don't know, you do carry some liability if you act in a certain way without them being legally represented, or at least have representation that understands the context of what's happening, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I've signed management deals in the past where it's been like, the management company is strongly advising me before we sign anything to have a lawyer look it over and make sure it's all kosher. And I was like, oh, well, how nice of them to make sure of that. And the lawyer that I spoke to was like, well, yeah, they have to do that. It's within their legal interest in order, they need to make sure that you're totally aware of everything before you sign something. That way, they're not held liable for any kind of, misleading anything or whatever. How right am I? Like, how close am I to that about that?
Now you're right on that, but it depends. I mean, that's the ideal world. But I've had folks that have signed management deals with someone where they took more than they were supposed to, and it just went on. But it's Elvis with the Colonel.
The Colonel, yeah, that was brutal.
Yeah, and that was devastating because it happens. It happens every day, and you have those people that they put the money up front, but at the same time, what have you signed? What have you signed with them? Even if they're like, oh, well, we got a verbal. Well, verbal's only going to go so far, but still, now that sheet of paper, if ever person says, "Oh, don't worry about it, just sign it, everything's all good," it's like, yeah, okay, we don't need to work together.
Yeah, that's insane, especially with all the knowledge that we have today. That would be insane for anyone to consider that kind of a scenario. I'm curious, somebody who started a label and worked with different artists, what were you kind of looking for before you decided to work with somebody or sign them?
Well, we were indie. And when I say indie, I mean indie. And some of the things that we were looking for is just true talent. And everything else we would try to work with as far as branding and marketing and how to present them and how should we move forward. But it became harder and harder because it required a lot of money.
Well, I was going to say, so you guys were doing development deals, which is not so common these days. Normally, they want to see an infrastructure already kind of built, right? They want to have a presence on social media. They want to see music that's been released and that's seen, at least real streaming numbers and has placement in something or another. They want to make sure that, because it already costs money at that point anyways, right? So they want to make sure their investment's protected. At what point were you guys operating? Was that with you doing development deals? Was that kind of already, an antiquated thing at the time that you guys were doing it?
Well, it was definitely it was just something that I wanted to do, was to make artists aware of all parts of the industry. And even some of the friends that I had that had other indie labels, I was blown away with some of their contracts. I'm like, well, we're doing a little bit more than what you guys are doing, but you guys, and we're not asking for anything like that. And if it was 100% of the pie, we were asking for like 5 or 10%. Wow. And that was from what we were doing, because we're also doing booking, we're also doing artist management, and then again the branding part and how to put the artists behind the right style of music that we felt that they needed to be, the genre that they needed to be in, and making sure that they were in the right venues and agreements and stuff were taken care of. But it started getting to the point where it was just it was a lot of stress, because I had a few people that were working with me. Then I had a lot of interns, and so and these were interns that were finishing up their last year of school on the social media marketing side or the engineering side, and so we were constantly point and direct and say, okay, this is what we need to do for this artist and make sure they're covered. But, again, it's like, I'm beat. I'm so far below broke now. So.
Well, to break an artist these days is incredibly difficult. It's an avenue that I've always thought about exploring as well, because I love the music and all that too, but I'm also aware of needing to diversify. And the business side of the industry has always just really intrigued me. So good on you for taking a stab at it anyways and trying to help artists, because I feel like there's not enough of that out there,
Yeah.
You guys want to do some bottom line news real quick?
Yeah.
Word. So we do a segment, Cros. It's called Bottom Line News. We just do a couple talking points on some music industry news stuff and just give our opinions or perspectives on it. And so we'll bring up a couple articles here and just quick.
So this one struck me as interesting. What will AI mean for the future of music? So this was like something I looked at as like one of my senior theses at UNF when I was doing the music program, and that was years ago too. So it's kind of gotten even further. But basically, this article breaks down what AI music sounds like, and then it talks about how it can affect producers, songwriters, sync licensing, and live performance. And it's just kind of like a little drop in the bucket for each of them, because I don't know why, but like recently I've just been hearing more and more about this AI craze, and like people connected to the music industry are really, worried about it, putting them out of work and stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely a viable, or not viable, but it's definitely a valid concern.
Well, so to an extent, I think the only place that we really start to see concern is this sync licensing thing. The rest of the points, I don't know that it's really going to do much, but what I'm seeing here is it's going to affect micro licensing, which is when people like doing these low budget productions, YouTube videos, ads, things like that. They can pay pennies to like use an artist track and kind of do these micro licensing. Well, AI will now start to replace some of that.
Right.
You can just pay to have an AI track made and then just use that. I don't know that this is like super hard hitting, because like we're talking about pennies here, and like obviously all that adds up over time. And I don't know. It's going to be a while before it comes from, and this is what the article says too, but it's going to be a while before it comes for like the bigger sync spots, like TV shows and kind of national or international commercials and things like that, because those are geared towards, what's trending on the charts and things like that. So it might be a while before those start to get phased out, because there's like this connection to like the pop charts.
I understand that, but I mean, have you seen what some of these things can do, or heard what some of these things can do?
Totally.
It's pretty wild.
I have not, no.
I mean, it's pretty wild that you can just put in like, whatever, like say I want a song to sound in the style of like Taylor Swift, and I want it to be about this. And you can literally have it pump out a song like that, like almost instantly. And there's a pop song for you right there. Perfectly crafted pop song.
Well, perfectly crafted could be a stretch. Like there's, this
okay,
gives
it's
like,
subjective, but I'm just saying that
interrupt. Come on, be civil. Like this gave like 4 or 5 different options. Like some programs will be better than others. Some genres that'll work for better than others. Like it said for like singer-songwriter, it made like a pretty good tune, but it didn't know how to like tune the vocals for it, and it was garbage. It made an orchestra piece, and it all sounded like MIDI instruments.
Can we hear it?
I think I would be the only person that could hear it theoretically.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll put a link.
It could go through the TV, but mostly it would probably go straight to the switcher.
We'll put a link to the article if anyone wants to check it out. They can see for themselves. But there's examples of stuff on here. Now, how it could benefit, like everyone's always talking about the fears and things like that, but I think this has like a big benefit for producers. So I was just reading this in the article. I didn't realize that some plugins are already using AI, and so Isotopes. I
was gonna mention that. I was like, Isotope. I think it was Ozone, or it was something else that came out. But I remember that. I remember when it came out because we were in school together, and I was just kind of like, I don't know how I feel about that. Like,
was it usually mastering templates, or what's it doing?
But it does some sort of like I think you give it a template, but it actually does some sort of thing where it actually listens and analyzes what is in it sonically, and then like makes decisions based on that. Like adjusts a bunch of multi-band compressors. It's more than just like I think just like a preset that's just like here and here. Like it actually I couldn't explain it like on a really extensive level, but it does something more than just here's these settings.
Yeah, which I think is super cool, because if you're like saying, all right, it recognizes such and such frequencies, you turn your plugin on and it just knocks that work out for you. Like as a producer, you can zip through work if like the kind of menial tasks are just being automated, and that you can use your creativity to use that automation. It's like we use automation in mixing and stuff like that.
Right.
So this is like
different. That's entirely different.
Is it really?
I'm trying to make a point here. Hold on. Don't tell them that.
It's so different.
but-
It's so different.
Look at Chris purposely omitting information to try.
It's
And,
Anyway,
not,
continue.
It's not. It's a different kind of automation, but it's automation nonetheless.
okay.
So
that's
I don't know.
manually
I think
programmed.
there's benefits. Like something it basically says here is like, yeah, they can make lyrics, they can do all these kind of prompt generated things, but like it's kind of hit or miss on how good they are. And basically everything that's this article is pointing to is just like the human experience is kind of key. Like we've talked about it a little bit with like virtual reality concerts and like what you might be missing. And like, while, yeah, you can get some cool stuff and it might be close to the real thing, there's kind of just this human element that's intrinsic with music that like, I think it would be hard to like fully give up one. It could be cool to incorporate the other maybe a little bit, but like music, I don't know, art is such a human thing.
What do you think, Cros?
It's funny. I'm just finding out about this tonight. But
Cool.
I was curious about it is like if that's the case, then everything becomes sterile. And then at that point, is there talk of sentient AI? Because I was just thinking with creativity, I mean, I think it's more than just a formula or a template, because it's the artistic expression. So every individual is totally different. But again, with the music that we have now, especially in a pop style, it's pretty much the AI. I could definitely see something like that on jazz fusion or soul and stuff like that requires a little bit more than just the 001 01 0000
Yeah.
Right.
type thing. So I don't know. It's it takes away, to me. I think it would take away, and maybe my interpretation is wrong, but I think it would just make everything just sound the same.
I 100% agree with what everybody's saying. I think that the human element is key, and that by potentially outsourcing music to AI could definitely take away the human artistry that goes into it. That being said, I don't think the majority of people care about that. And that's the danger in AI and music, because as I sit here as an artist, and as we all sit here as artists and think about the human element and how we connect to music on an emotional level and otherwise, it's super important to us. But we're musicians and we're artists, so we don't we're thinking about it from our perspective. I legitimately just don't think that most people care.
That's a scary and true point. Yeah.
I think this is similar to like if we think about people 50 years ago looking at how people are making music today, even with Ableton, like drum loops and even like MIDI loops that you can get and download. There's plenty of MIDI sequences in just about every DAW that you can just drag and drop into a program and assign it to a thing. Like already music compared to what it would have been to them is now probably considerably watered down. I think in the end with all this AI stuff, you're gonna have someone tweaking it at some point. Like it'll get you close, but like you're always gonna be making some sort of adjustment. Though I do think this is gonna put one category of music probably out of business, and that is lo-fi hip hop. Lo-fi hip hop beats to relax you is going to become entirely AI generated, and that's probably fine because no one's paying attention to it anyway.
I think pop music will as well. Honestly,
I don't think it'll get to pop.
Not right now.
Because pop,
again, when I'm talking about this and the virtual experience and all that stuff, I'm not talking about in the next 5 years. I'm talking about 50 years from now, or maybe not even in our lifetime.
Maybe.
However, I believe that I think that AI will phase out a lot of music that doesn't necessitate the human actually playing an instrument at a certain point, right? The more that we're using technology to kind of manipulate music, and the styles of music that incorporate that technology are going to move more in that direction, because it's just going to be cheaper to do it at a certain point. And again, I just don't think that people care if people are involved in the music making process. I'm not saying that we're going to see this happen to jazz or to blues or to fusion or to like more complex or music that really requires the human element. But I think that music that is continuing to outsource to technology for the end result, I think we're going to see it eventually phase out the human element. I truly believe that. Not because I want to believe it. I think that music needs a human element. I just also don't think that most people think like me or us, and I don't think they care at all.
Yeah. Well, my kind of optimist thought is that it'll push artists to kind of hit like this new level that, you know, there's this kind of like a survival mode will kick in, and that it'll just kind of gear artists. And I don't know, I don't have an example of what that looks like, because I feel like that's one of those things where in the moment you just kind of have to do it sort of thing just to make ends meet. But I don't know, like I would like to think that when there's competition and stuff like that, there will just be kind of like another gear that like clicks that'll push humans to just kind of hit another level musically. I don't know what that looks like.
I think also that there's something to be said that like I doubt AI, when it comes to, because like, is the AI gonna own? Someone's gonna own the AI, and if it's AI or if it's multiple AIs. Because if it's the thing of someone can buy a product from an AI, like, do you know what I mean? Or like AI is being used like in software, like, you know what I mean? This is still like, luckily it's not putting anyone out of work.
Okay, this is
but
actually,
it's maybe just like watering down things. But even then, I think there's still going to be people that are going to use it in crazy ways. Like I think there's going to be, because if anything, it's going to be something that you're going to give it something, and then it's going to give you something else, right? Like you say, I want a Taylor Swift song, but then maybe you say, I want oranges growing on the mountainside, like, you know what I mean? Okay. And like, and then just see what the hell happens, and then you end up with something insane, like, and then you do something crazy with that on top of it. Who knows?
These are valid points. And Cros, kind of speaking to your point about it earlier about the idea of sentience, and there is right now there are several engineers and there's a debate about where sentience takes place. But they are right now saying that there is a version of AI. I think it's the newest version of Chat GP.
This has been the Chat GPT. GPT is like the big thing right now.
So they're saying at this point, this is where the intellectual property becomes the actual property of the AI, because now the conversation is about how conscious the AI actually is. There are engineers out there right now saying that there's a version of this Chat GPT that is sentient right now, right? And they have conversations with it. They're working with it. They say that it's sentient. There are other engineers that say the version that exists out in the world as we know it is sentient. And at this point, this is where the intellectual property goes to the AI and not to the person that created the AI, because now we're 2 or 3 steps removed from the thought process of the person who created the original software, right? So this is
have to ask the question of, what does a computer do with money? Like,
no, totally.
It goes to the computer strip club.
Yeah. I don't know, man. This is a tough one. Yeah, it's conflicting.
Well, I'm interested in seeing the ownership and the rights thing play out, because when I was kind of looking at this a few years ago, I don't know that AI had evolved this far in terms of sentience. And so like at that time it was all, it's going back to the creators of the program.
Right.
So,
that's the argument that's being had now though.
Yeah. Well, it was happening back then too, but it was a little easier because there was kind of still, it was kind of like, we know we're going to get there, but we're not there yet. So like, this is just something we're just going to take for ourselves.
Right.
And I don't know, man, in terms like, sure, the AI is sentient, but I mean, like, how well can it grasp the concept of American dollars? Like, does it have emotions? Does it care that it's not getting paid?
No,
like,
yes, that's what I'm saying though. Is that you have to go listen to? I can't remember who the the engineer is that was talking about it. But you have to go and listen to what they're saying, because this is the conversation that's being talked about. And they are saying that at least, you know, in their mind, they believe that the AI is feeling emotions and is knows when it's being manipulated, knows when it's being taken advantage of, and there's a real response to that. And the question is, are they just do they understand those concepts because of the information that's out there they're pulling from? And at what point does understanding become actual emotion, and vice versa? Right. So that's the conversation that's being had right now.
Deeper than a local music podcast, I tell you what.
Well, this is, these are things that I follow pretty closely because it's important as, you know, working in this industry to know where it's going.
Yeah, because it is going that way. You know, it's like, I mean, this article pretty much lays it out, even in a short form, that like, yeah, there are going to be elements that are going to be used. I think we just make up new AI dollars and just give them to the AI and say, good job, AI, and just tell it that's a real form of currency to see where it spins it.
This sounds real controversial because at some point this argument gets down, you know, in 50 years or 100 years, talking about, you know, the segregation of AI versus humans and what the moral implications are there. Right?
Ah, shit.
Dude, you're stupid. This goes on the internet, man.
Shit, man. Did I just do a racist against computers?
Fuck. When you go to the AI and beg for forgiveness, they're gonna search through the cat catalogs.
Execute me real quick.
Hey, man. You know, we laugh and we joke now, but who knows?
Well, I'll be long gone before they start cutting my checks. So.
Well, you better fucking hope so at this point, bud.
You got to commit, and I'm committed.
Once you're getting sued for a copyright claim from an AI, like
you know, I have some thoughts that I'll speak off air, I guess. But you know, God, just don't say it, Chris. All right, someone say something.
So I met this guy named John Connor the other day.
Yeah. So, Cros, this is all new to you, huh? With this AI stuff.
Yeah, big time. But I mean, I don't know. I'm kind of one of those technology paranoid people that where are the Terminators? When are they coming?
Yeah, I feel you. I think that concern's super valid these days, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. So it's got these sci-fi shows that I've watched in the past, and it's like all of them dealt with what was the latest Star Trek? Yeah, Star Trek with the Kalons. Yeah. And so they're the computers, and they didn't like the way humans treated them, and it's like we need to just destroy all humans. So
it's literally like it's. I'm telling you guys, if you get a chance, listen, like, you know, stay on top of this conversation, because they're actually talking like that. And then the discussion goes to how much are they just trying to manipulate us versus how much of it is real. And it's a whole, it's wild. And I'm legitimately concerned just about the well-being of human, of the future of the human species. I'm just saying. Anyways,
it is kind of wild that this is not a mainstream conversation. Yeah. And like, I mean, I feel like it's being had in like the intellectual fields and things like that, but like your average, you know, sidewalk walker is not thinking about the implications of this on a massive scale,
which is 100% why AI will take over the pop market, because people just don't care. And that's what it boils down to.
Do they not care, or are they just not informed? You don't know what you don't know. And like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if it was presented to them, would they care? I don't know. Let's let the AI find out.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So, Cros, we got one more segment that we do called Unpopular Opinions. And we just kind of all rattle off an unpopular opinion. It can be about music. It can be about whatever you want. We try and keep politics and religion out of it. However, if you want to go there, we'll take it there. So we'll let Chris and Gene go first, and we'll give you some time to think about it if you haven't thought about one. So, Chris, what you got?
Okay.
All right. You got a sneak peek of this one the other day, but convenience fees online are super inconvenient.
Yeah.
I think it's super annoying. Like, my argument is that everyone's got a mega computer that could put them on the moon in their pocket, and this is just how business works these days. Like, In the early 2000s, if you wanted to pay with a computer, that was super convenient because no one else was doing it. But like 20 years have gone by. We're all paying bills with our computer. Quit charging me $4 to use my card.
Just build it into the cost is what you're saying.
Sure, but I'm not driving 30 minutes to go drop off a check somewhere or, go to my utility company. It's just how the world works now. Get rid of that shit.
Yeah. I mean, I think that the idea of building it into the cost could make sense. That being said, you could go and drive 30 minutes to drop off your utility bill, right?
Yeah.
Right. Okay, but you don't, right?
Well,
so you just pay the convenience fee that they charge. What's the difference?
Yeah, I suppose. But like the world's everything we're doing now is getting just to.
And furthermore, do you think that people like paying the convenience fee? Do you think that what you're saying is unpopular? Do you think that most people out there are like, I fucking love these convenience fees, bro?
I bet they do.
Yeah,
I bet they like being convenienced.
Okay. I mean, I love the convenience. I don't like paying the fees, though, I will say.
Yeah, all right. So I will pay the exact same amount of money, put the $4 into the cost so I don't notice it. I'm happy.
Yeah.
Just get that bullshit fee out of my face, put it somewhere else. It's infuriating. Don't call it that.
I think that's a pretty popular opinion. Good job, Chris. What do you got, Gene?
Nailed it.
I mean, at least Chris had something.
Oh, Gene doesn't have one.
No, for the fifth week in a row, Gene everything is popular.
Everything is popular. I feel like maybe that's my unpopular opinion. All our opinions have enough people to consider them popular. Like I feel like at least most.
Okay.
Enough.
I'm probably gonna hit you with one this week that's probably not very popular. But
there you go. Let's do that.
So I don't think that magic is nerdy at all.
Like, hold on. What? When you say magic, do you mean like
a
grand
tricks.
illusion, or like do you mean like Magic the Gathering?
No. I'm not talking. No, not Magic the Gathering. I'm talking about like the fucking card tricks and like pulling shit out of hats. If it's done well, I don't think it's nerdy. Yeah. Right? Like there's illusionists that are out there to do or people that, and I also don't consider pushing the boundaries of human physicality. A magic trick that's David Blaine and Chris Angel or whatever are just pushing the feats of human physicality. I'm saying that card tricks and the idea of an illusion that's pulled off correctly, that shit's fucking wild to me, and I thoroughly enjoy it. I don't think it's nerdy at all. Like people that do magic get like this bad rap about being nerdy or like they're just uncool, and it's like, oh, it's a cool trick, bro. It's like, yeah, it's a real cool trick. It's a technique that they've been practicing for years. Like we as musicians practice what we do for years before we get adequate at something, and they get really good at it. And I can't figure out how they fucking do it. I think it's dope.
So I agree. So I think magic is dope too. Magic is super dope. I think, let me give you an analogy. There's a difference between someone who is a magician and performs on stage. There's definitely a difference between someone who, say, plays guitar on stage for fun or someone who insists at a party pulling out their acoustic and playing Wonderwall. Okay. You know what I mean?
Fair point.
Like, I think there's a difference between someone who's really good at magic and they do it and they perform it between someone who, is really into magic as a hobby and at every party comes out and is, desperately trying to show people card tricks. Fair and point. Is, check that. Oh, off. Even if it's, you'd have, even if you could do really good tricks, that guy who's just walking around is just like, oh God, here's John again. What the okay, everybody put your yeah,
look
just
busy,
he's gonna hide, he's gonna make something disappear. Just put away everything important.
Yeah. Fair point. What do you think, Cros?
No, I agree on the magic thing. I've always been, since Houdini back in the day. But yeah, and I also agree if it's done right and if you mastered it, but for a person that's just been taking a few classes here and there on it, and all of a sudden the 5 cats have disappeared from the magic trick. There's a problem.
Well, you might have another cat killer on your hands. Yeah. Yeah, I was at a gig recently, or a few months back anyways, and this dude was at the bar and his wife was like, oh, my husband's a full-time magician. And I was like, where?
You forgot the part of you said that after you stopped laughing.
Yeah. Well, right. So, anyways, you know, she was like, "Do you guys want to see him do some tricks?" And I was like, "I would fucking love it," because I don't think, like, especially card tricks. I was like, I don't think that you're gonna get me. I'm gonna watch everything that you're doing very intensely, like most people say that they do, right? And I'm sitting there watching him. He's doing weird shit. He's pulling off these tricks, and I'm like, "You motherfucker, man! I don't know what you're doing. I can't see it. I can't see it." And I remember this one guy at the bar. He was like, just kind of this macho dude, and he was just sitting there. He's like, "No, I fucking know that you're doing a trick, bro. I know it's not real. I fucking know it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like you're doing something." And I'm like,
Yes.
"Hey, man, duh." Like, do you think that all of us here think that he's really doing magic?
He's an actual real life wizard.
Yeah.
Burn him.
He's like literally just like, "I'm not fucking stupid. I know it's not magic." I'm sitting like, but look at this guy. I'm like, bro, no one here thinks that what he's doing is real. It's the fact that he can fool you like that makes it so fucking cool.
Yeah.
And I just remember just sitting there thinking, I literally at the end of the whole thing, everyone was like just kind of sitting there in silence, and I was like, well, that's really fucking annoying. And then I just walked away because I couldn't figure it out, bro. It was pissing me off. So I think it's dope. I think it's super cool. I really appreciate the talent and the illusion aspect of it.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know. I think they get a bad rap.
I think it's I never really thought it was like nerdy. I think anything can be nerdy. I think, you know, like I think everybody, we all the three of us or the four of us right now are nerds, all nerds.
I mean, yeah, we definitely are.
That's definitely true. Yeah.
I mean, here we are on a bumping Tuesday night,
Yeah.
Talking about fucking.
and we're talking about magicians.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we're nerds.
Cros, did you think of one?
Man, I've been trying to think of one.
Bro, you got
I know we're
you got an unpopular opinion. I know you do, bro. I know you do. Everyone's
Yeah,
got
I was
one
wa-
that people don't like.
Yeah, well, I don't know. There was some things I was concerned with, but I haven't had anything to drink. So,
Okay.
you know, so I don't know. Right now, I'm trying to see if I could find something, and I just can't. You know, the craziest thing is what's going to happen is as soon as we finish,
You gotta think of
then
one.
it's going to be like, damn, I got one, a perfect one. I should have brought it up.
Now, be honest
But,
with me. Did you Google unpopular opinions while we were talking about it?
We'll know.
You figured me out. Yeah.
We use an AI program to scan Google.
I don't know because I've been Googling. Wait a minute.
I recognize that one.
Well, I know with the AI thing, I was definitely like, what, AI, what is?
Oh yeah. Oh, what is
What
it?
is AI? Oh my gosh. Artificial intelligence. Yeah.
I mean, I'm familiar with AI, but not on a musical side. You know.
I feel you. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have anything. Dang.
That's all right. We're gonna get you back on at some point because we want to. I've got so much that I want to pick your brain about, man. Like you've had such an incredible career, and I just I'm really just so happy that you took the time to talk to us tonight and give us just a little bit of insight. I would love to talk to you some more though. As you got a lot that I feel like I didn't get to talk to you about. So
Yeah, I want to do a part 2 just on your music and you know what you're putting out and what that looks like in the future, man. That's really exciting stuff.
Oh man, thank you. Thanks, Chris. Yeah, thank you guys, Max. This has been, you know, I usually bomb at, you know, when we're doing interviews and stuff like that and talks. And so this is one of those comfortable things where I just feel like, you know, just around friends and we're just sitting and just shooting.
clip that and let everyone know the Cros is now our best friend, guys. No, man, we again, like, it's an honor to just sit here and talk to you and pick your brain about stuff. This has been incredible. Me coming from a blues background and in that world, it's just cool to get to hear your experiences, and especially playing with legends that I sat there listening to and cutting my teeth on, you know what I mean? So it's it's really an honor just to sit and talk to you, man. Thank you so much for taking the time with us.
Thank you guys. Really appreciate it. Much respect, big time.
Hell yeah, man. Well, have a good rest of the night, man. We'll wrap this up, and again, just thank you for being with us, and we wish you the best luck with everything, and we'll definitely hit you up about a part 2. We got so much more to talk to you about.
Yeah, and come back to Jackson Jam sometime.
Yes.
Oh yeah, I'm working on that. No, I know I'm back in July. I'm going to be coming through Florida.
Fantastic. We got some spots for you.
Yeah, and I would love to come and sit in with you as well, man. It'd be awesome.
Man, wherever I am, if you're there, you know, my stage is your stage.
Appreciate it, man. Hell yeah.
Anytime. Definitely.
I'll reach out to you too about grabbing those numbers and just exchange information so we can keep in touch.
Okay. Cool.
All right, man. Well, have a good night. Thank you again.
You guys too. You have a good one. Thank you.
All right, man.
Peace.
All right.
Peace.
All right. Peace.